Hi, and welcome to the first 2 weeks of Unlocking Your Body, a hypermobile friendly beginner program specifically for those who struggle with proprioception and interoception issues. This is the 10-minute deep core session. There are 2 options for this session. You can do it in a chair or on the floor. Alternate views and variations will be shown at the top of the screen. For either, the only equipment you'll need is a blanket or pillow. Let's get started with reclined or seated breathing. Lie down with your knees up, soles of your feet on the floor about hip width apart, or sit with your back against the chair, feet flat on the floor. First, let's get a literal feel for neutral pelvis placement here. Gently push your low back into the floor or chair by slightly scooping your pubic bone toward the ceiling while keeping your hips connected to the floor or seat. Don't scoop so much that they begin to lift. This right here, that solid connection from low back to hips, is a neutral pelvis position. This is where we want to be most of the time. Since we're all beginners here and safety is most important, grab your blanket or pillow and wedge it under your hips to help get your pelvis into neutral without having to do that active scooping. This will protect your lumbar spine while letting you focus on muscle engagement elsewhere. Start to bring in awareness to your breath. Just breathe at a normal pace through your nose if you can. As you inhale, fill your belly first. Feel your low back push a little further into the floor, and slowly exhale, feeling your low back gently lift a bit as your belly falls toward your spine. Continue breathing this way, inhaling the belly out and letting it fall on the exhale. Keep your jaw loose. You can place the tip of your tongue between your front teeth to help keep you from clenching or straining. Stay here for a couple more breaths. We're going to move on to diaphragmatic breathing, mostly staying in the same position. Just bring your left hand to your chest and your right hand to your stomach. This time we're going to increase our inhale and exhale just a little bit. As you inhale, fill your belly first, then your chest. On your exhale, release the air going back down the same way, this time exhaling just far enough to engage your core. Repeat, inhaling belly to chest, exhaling chest to belly, sealing it by exhaling just enough to feel your core engage. That's what I call an active exhale. So this muscle engagement at the end of your exhale should feel similar to when you're bracing from being tickled or when you're cold and it's like you're trying to condense everything together. The position we were in before is how we should be breathing all the time. This should feel a little more like a core workout and is something we do intentionally to strengthen the deep core and stabilize the spine. On the flip side, it can be natural to brace our core when we're anxious, and so understanding how this feels can work in the reverse and help us realize when we're holding tension and shouldn't be. Just keep going a little bit longer. Moving on to supine pelvic tilts. Just stay where you are, resting your arms back at your sides. We're going to rock our pelvis now, using our deep core to flow from posterior to neutral to anterior tilt. This is great for the deep core, helping to learn movement with breath connection and getting a base understanding of pelvic tilts. Same as before, let's get a feel for both anterior and posterior tilts before flowing. Start in neutral with your low back and hips firmly connected to the floor or seat. Then create a little bit of space between your low back and the floor by tilting your pelvis. That's an anterior tilt. Release it back to neutral. This time, scoop the opposite direction, working towards slightly lifting your hips off the floor or seat as you continue scooping upward. That's a posterior tilt. We're going to flow between both now, adding in our breath. Starting in neutral, inhale, creating that space at your low back. As you begin to exhale, scoop your pelvis, moving back toward neutral while lightly pressing into your feet, and then keep going beyond neutral until you feel your hips begin to lift just a little bit. Continue moving with your breath, inhaling, tilting your pelvis to create space in the low back, exhaling, and scoop like a potato bug. Stay here a little bit longer. Moving on to supine knee marches. Staying where you are with a blanket or pillow wedged under your hips to keep your pelvis in neutral, soles of the feet flat on the floor, we're going to start using our core to move our legs. This also works our hip flexors. On the exhale, brace your core and lift one knee toward your chest, staying below your belly button. Inhale the leg down. Repeat on the other side. Exhale, left knee toward chest. Inhale, release. Keep moving with your breath and really try to focus on using those deep core muscles to bring energy to your leg. Keep going at your own pace. Moving onto Sphinx pose, flip over onto your stomach or grab a second chair if you're seated. We're going to do some work on our posterior deep core muscles now. Our core muscles that run from our skull all the way down to our hips. A general rule of breathing in yoga is that we're going to inhale as we lengthen and exhale as we contract, or lengthen as we open the chest, exhale as we close it. Place your forearms on the mat or second chair with your elbows bent, keeping them hugged close to you. Inhale, lifting your chest while keeping your neck firm and chin tucked. Exhale, release. Repeat, moving with your breath. Keep your shoulders away from your ears, gently pushing your shoulder blades down and toward one another. If you're on the floor, take note of your pelvis. You can gently push into the floor just a little bit to help protect the low back as you lift. Keep going a little longer. Moving into seated side bend. If you're on the floor, slowly make your way into easy pose with your blanket under your tailbone and your legs crossed comfortably. We're going to work our obliques, the muscles that run along our upper side body. Take a moment to feel your pelvis in neutral, maybe scooping and arching your pelvis until you feel the spot. The blanket should help keep it in this neutral spot. Inhale, lifting your right arm overhead to the side. Exhale, switching sides. Alternate sides moving with your breath. As you bend, be sure to keep your hips firmly planted. This isn't about how far you can bend to the side. We're just trying to get a nice rhythm that brings some warmth and body awareness to these muscles. Keep going a little longer. Release. We're going to repeat the last 4 again, starting with supine pelvic tilts. So if you're on the floor, go ahead and lie back down. Starting in neutral again with your low back and hips firmly connected to the floor or seat. We're going to rock our pelvis again, tilting to create a little space at the low back, and then scooping to lift our hip bones off the floor just a bit if we can. Inhale as we tilt, exhale, engaging our core as we scoop forward. Just continue moving with your breath at whatever pace is comfortable for you. Moving on to supine knee marches. Go ahead and stay where you are with the blanket or pillow still wedged under your hips, keeping your pelvis in neutral. On the exhale, brace your core and lift your right knee towards your chest, staying below your belly button. Inhale the leg down, repeat on the other side. Exhaling while engaging the core, lifting your left knee towards your chest. Inhale, release. Again, just move with your breath, slow and steady, however comfortable. Moving on to Sphinx pose, go ahead and flip over onto your stomach or grab the second chair if you're seated. Place your forearms on the mat or the second chair with your elbows bent, keeping them hugged close to you. Inhale, lifting your chest while you keep your neck firm and your chin tucked. Exhale, release. Repeat moving with your breath at whatever pace is comfortable for you. Remember to keep your shoulders away from your ears by gently pushing your shoulder blades down and toward one another. And if you're on the floor, you can gently push your pelvis into the mat just a little bit to help relieve any strain on the low back. Keep going a little bit longer. Last move, going into seated side bend. If you're on the floor, slowly make your way into sitting, easy pose with your blanket under your tailbone and your legs crossed comfortably. If you're in a chair, you can get rid of that second chair. Make sure your pelvis is in neutral, and then inhale, lift your right arm overhead to the side. Exhale, switching sides. Just keep alternating sides, moving with your breath. And as you bend, just make sure to keep both of your hip bones firmly planted. We don't want either of them lifting off the seat as we bend to the side. And release. Okay, that's it. Great job. You are welcome to move right into the 15-minute stretching video in this playlist or do that another day. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next time.